With all that is going on around the world, it's not an easy thing to stay sane. Health and mental health in this case is a sensitive issue that we are discussing. This is Now Tell Us. I'm your host, Anthony Morore. Now Tell Us, we have guests come and tell us stories. They come and inspire us. They come and educate us on a subject. And always we have great guests come and join us. And when I say always, today we have a great guest with us who's known as Clint Callahan. And he's going to be here shortly. Before he comes, I would like you to please share this episode with all your friends. If you have a question as we move along, please ask. We will try our level best to answer it. And if it's just a comment you want to make on anything, we appreciate feedback. So thank you in advance. Mental health matters. Challenging the broken system. Hmm. So why don't you join me as we go together to meet our guest today, Clint? Here we go. Hello, Clint.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Welcome to Now Tell Us.
Thank you.
We are honored to have you here.
So, what can I tell you?
Yeah, where in the world are you at now?
I am currently in Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Mm-hmm. That's wonderful. And I hope the weather is treating you good today.
So far, so good.
Yeah, you tell me that is Labor Day
Yes, Labor
weekend.
Day weekend in the United States. So, we're going to get
So
a 3 day weekend. Can't wait.
what are the plans?
Oh, the plans are, of course, what do most Americans do when it's a Labor Day weekend? We're going to eat too much and have a barbecue and hang out with friends and just try and relax and have a good time so we can get ready for the next week.
That's cool. It's good once in a while to just come from the busy routine, daily routine, and just have some good time with the family,
Yep.
isn't it?
Well, I mean, it's not just good, it's vital. That's the big piece that I'm finding is being a therapist and a life coach. One of the main things that I see with people is burnout is we're I think burnout is the largest epidemic that's happening all around the globe is it's just everybody is so connected in so many different ways that we're now beginning to feel disconnected in so many different ways because it's almost like we always have to be on. We always have to be connected. We always have to be a part of things. And
Mm,
having and taking that time to disconnect and creating good boundaries around those things is crucial to our mental health because it's what's causing a lot of the issues that are happening in the world. Because I went through burnout myself, and that's one of the reasons why I'm trying to do this life coaching thing and why I've done all that because being a therapist and being a life coach and being just anyone who's living their daily life is exhausting at times because you're expected to stay connected to Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, to all the different streaming channels on TV, to all these different things
mm,
that make us that are designed to make us feel connected, but yet
mm,
for some reason we feel more empty and disconnected and because we know that everybody's trying to sell us something because
yeah.
it's like from the Netflix documentary The Social Dilemma, right?
Mm,
If you're getting the service for free, then you are the product. And when that happens,
hmm,
it creates this disconnect of, well, you really don't care about me. You're just trying to get my data. You're
mm,
just trying to get me to say yes. You're just trying to get me to buy. You
mm,
really don't care. And it's in that piece that's where the system is broken because we are too connected. And yet at the same time, if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be doing this, right? So
yeah.
it's that double-edged sword of it where the connection allows you to do things but it also takes away things as well. So it always comes back to that age old thing, right?
Mm,
Moderation in all things.
mm. Now, you've practiced being a therapist for several years, and now it's when you're branching into life coaching.
Mm-hmm.
What could be the difference, maybe, for someone
Sure.
who's listening here and doesn't have an idea?
Yeah. So I've been a therapist now for I've been licensed for about 16 years. I've been practicing since 2000, so about 23 years now. I
Mm-hmm.
got into life coaching about 6 months ago is when I started. Small changes, big impact. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason why I decided to go into life coaching and still do therapy as well is because I really want to just expand my reach and help more people recognize that
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't take massive changes to make changes. That it
Mm-hmm.
really just takes 15 minutes a day of changing your mindset, changing your perception, monitoring your emotions, recognizing what's going on, changing the way you're breathing, that allows you to then change the way your entire day goes. It doesn't take a big lightning bolt moment or a massive 3 to 5 day seminar where all of a sudden you feel like your brain has been expanded beyond your skull. It
Mm-hmm.
just takes those incremental things every single day that build on each other. It's a lot like doubling a penny every day, right? You've all done the math equation. If you double a penny every day, one and one becomes two, two and two becomes four, four and four becomes eight, and so on until after a month, that penny is now $1 million plus, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's those kind of things, that same kind of compounding interest can happen if you focus on taking just a little bit of time for yourself each day and
Mm-hmm.
building up your resilience, your reserve, your psychological acumen of understanding the different things that are going on inside of you, of slowing down, of taking a breath, of doing all these different things that only really take a minute or two each day, maybe 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes, to change the way that you're handling everything,
Mm-hmm.
which allows you to improve and become better and to become a better version of yourself. Because that's what we're all striving to do, right? We're all trying to become the best version of ourselves. And the thing
Mm-hmm.
is as human beings, we often fall short because, as again, there's so many demands on our time, on our energy, on
Yeah.
how we connect, and on just us feeling like we have a purpose in life.
Hmm. And I was asking this because I know there is someone who's hearing who's a life coach, and who is
Hmm.
who
Yeah.
is, I mean, can you differentiate the two? What does one and the other do?
Sure. So, what a therapist does is a therapist is someone that is able to basically diagnose. So, part of my licensing is I have the ability to diagnose and then to have you go through the mental health system, to go through your medical insurance, to go through these different systems to get the care that you need. A
Mm-hmm.
life coach is someone that does not diagnose, but still has the skill set to help you move through and get to this next stage. So a therapist tends to look more past oriented, where we look at your childhood, what happened in your early life, what happened recently, and these different things to help you create change today. A
Mm-hmm.
life coach tends to look for things today and how we can move you forward from today. Therapists can do that as well, but we tend to be trained to look backward and then go forward. Whereas a life coach, you tend to look at now and how can I move you forward today?
Oh, that's a good explanation. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Now we're talking about mental health matters. I mean, the
Hmm.
world today, as we mentioned before, how busy it has become, how fast
Yes.
it's running, and there's so much happening and challenges. People are being I mean, apart from the usual day-to-day things that they're doing, their career, their family,
Hmm.
there are many, many, many challenges that someone has to face, and it's not an easy thing to stay sane. So. Talk about mental health matters. That's
Yeah.
what we're here for.
Yeah.
Mm,
So the system, the reason why, I agree that the system is broken, like it says, challenging the broken system.
mm,
And the reason why I think the system is broken, as someone who has also worked in it now for 23 years,
mm-hmm,
is that the stigma that's still attached to saying that you need help is so great that it still defers and deters people from going into the mental health system, which
mm-hmm,
is one of the reasons why I've now added life coaching. Because when you say you're getting coaching, people think of that more as like, oh, it's like a sports team. It's like these kind of things. So it's not this stigma that's attached to, oh, what you're actually getting is you're getting someone to help you change the way you're thinking about things. What you're
Mm,
doing is your help is someone is there to help you, give you advice and guidance in a way that you are not getting from the world around you, from the people in your life, from the things that happen at work. Like in the United States, we have an EAP, we have EAP programs, employee assistance programs,
mm-hmm,
that when people are feeling burned out, exhausted, stressed, on the verge of divorce, having financial problems, oh, you can go and see a therapist and we'll pay for it for 5 to 8 sessions. But
mm,
5 to 8 sessions does not fix someone that is having those kind of structural, emotional, life problems.
mm,
Because when you're going through that, by the time most of us, when we say we need mental health help, we are so close to being completely burned out and having like a total system collapse of our friends, our family, our job, caring for ourselves, that it takes a lot to pull someone back from the brink.
mm,
So a big piece of my program, the reason why I'm going into the life coaching piece, is because I've been burned out. I've gone through it, and I found out that by changing the way that I viewed the world, by taking 3 5-minute breaks a day to help me stay on track, which is 15 minutes a day, has allowed me to change my perception of how I move through my day, so that I can be the kind of man, the kind of therapist, or the kind of husband, the kind of father, all these things that I want to be in my life. But that's where it all started, is first I had to take care of myself. And
mm,
that is the last things that most people do, is we think of ourselves last, not
mm,
first. And
mm-hmm,
if you don't think of yourself first, it always comes back to the old adage, right? A dry well gives no water.
yeah,
So if you're the well and you're not doing things to make sure that you're on the right track and that you're staying full and content and that you can have the things and be the things that you want, then you feel empty. And then
mm,
that begins the process of systemic disconnect, where then you start to disconnect first from your friends and family, because that's considered in most people's lives, well, I don't need to be around my friends because that's just an extra thing, it's an extra obligation. And
mm,
then you begin to disconnect from you doing basic self-care, like, I'll shower every other day, I'll shower once a week, I'll stop shaving, you just, everything starts to go downhill. And then you begin to disconnect from your family, and you start to do less of spending time with them, or when you're with them, you're not there, you're
mm,
somewhere else. You're there physically, but emotionally, mentally, you're gone. And then it begins to affect the last piece, which is your work. And the reason why work is usually the last piece is because we know that we need money to survive.
mm,
So it's the last thing that we do. So then we start to think, well, I'll just do enough to not get fired. And then we start to think, well, they don't see my worth and my value. So I'm just going to quit and find another job that is going to see my worth and value. And when you do that, you feel great for a couple of months.
mm,
And then you begin to feel that way again, because the systemic issue of you not caring for yourself, of you not making sure that you are a priority, continues to go with you wherever you go, because you can't escape you.
mm. It makes a lot of sense when you tell us that 8 sessions cannot fix your problem, and the reason being is some of the things that we are going through did not take a week to grow. They did
Nope.
not take 1 month. It's something
Yep.
that has been there for several years, and then you
Mm-hmm.
tell me that
Possibly your whole life.
yeah, your whole life. Many times there are things that have been there for all of your life, and then you tell me you're gonna fix it in 8 days, 8 sessions. No, it's not. It's
Yeah.
not. It's not workable. So we will take your idea of having something to do on a daily basis that is
Mm-hmm.
going to improve our situation.
Yep.
And yeah, what's this 15 minutes a day? How
Sure.
is it like?
How did that work? Yeah, I get it. Because it's like, that doesn't sound like a lot, right? That's like 1% of your day, because there's 1,440 minutes in a day. So
Mm,
14 minutes and 40 seconds is about 1% of your day. So about 15 minutes, right? How
yeah.
can that change my life? That doesn't make any sense. I thought change was a massive undertaking, right?
Mm,
But the thing is it comes back to where it's very focused, spent time. So the
mm,
way I do it, what my own personal thing that I do now every day is I do 3 things a day where I spend 5 minutes each day, and each one is very specific. The first one I do is in the morning. I meditate for 3 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's like, what does 3 minutes of meditation do for you? And I'm like, well, you don't need 30 minutes of meditation. It's just sitting somewhere, breathing, being quiet, and seeing what your brain comes up with.
Mm-hmm.
But I focus that on what are my intentions for today. So what I've gone to is I have 2 goals that have been my goals that I follow every day. And if I can meet those goals every day,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm a success in my personal and professional life.
Mm-hmm.
So I meditate for 3 minutes and then I journal on these 2 things that I want to work on. And
Mm-hmm.
it's the same goal, but the thing that I want to get out of it each day is different. So my first goal professionally is when I see that light bulb moment when I'm talking with someone, when they're starting to get that they can change, I continually bump them and move them towards that light bulb. I
Mm-hmm.
go back and I ask them continued questions about that light bulb moment. Because for me, and here's the thing, is it's if I see the light bulb moment. You may not be seeing the light bulb moment. But
Mm-hmm.
my job as a coach and as a therapist is to keep nudging you towards this thing that I saw, that flicker in your eye or that little flash of a light bulb above your head that, wait a minute, you mean you're telling me I don't have to be this way? I can change if I want to? The
Mm-hmm.
answer is yes, anytime you want to. So that's the first goal that I do. And for me personally, I mean, for me professionally, the reason why I'm lucky is that's what I do all day, right? My
Mm-hmm.
job is professional advice giver and secret keeper. That's basically what a therapist is and what a life coach is.
That's
So I
good.
get to do that. So I got multiple chances to meet that goal.
Mm-hmm.
But it took me about a decade to figure that out, of
Mm-hmm.
me going through burnout to get to that. And then the second one that I do, my second goal that I focus on in the morning during my journaling is my personal goal, which is when I'm with people, be present, be
Mm-hmm.
there. Don't be worried about my phone that just dinged. Don't be worried about the next email that I have to send. Don't be worried about these other things that get in my way, that disconnect me from humanity, from real connection. Because even though Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and all these things are designed to help us create connection, the problem is it also feeds our desire of comparison. And
Mm-hmm.
when we get that comparison piece out of it, we then feel bad about ourselves in a way that doesn't need to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So as we continue to do that, I'm not saying all technology is bad, far from it. I love technology. I think it's fantastic
Mm-hmm.
when used appropriately. So that's a piece of it. As you recognize what you're using it for, like if you're using this and you're watching us doing these things,
Mm-hmm.
that's great. You're using technology appropriately because you're here to learn something new and
Mm-hmm.
to get better information. And that is how you can use it appropriately. Using it to scroll on Instagram and go, oh man, look at that person's life. It's so much better than mine. I could never have a life like that. Scrolling through Facebook saying, oh man, my friends' lives look so amazing. There's no way I could have a life like that. But
Mm-hmm.
you have to remember all these things are curated down to about 1% of what actually is going on in their life.
Mm-hmm.
When's the last time someone posted, my life is completely falling apart? Have you ever seen anyone do that?
I,
Sometimes, rarely you do.
no, they
Rarely. Sometimes you do, but rarely.
yeah, rarely, very rarely. Wow, wow. So 1% could make a whole difference in your
It
life.
can.
You just got to decide. At this point, let me thank each and everyone who's watching. Thank you, Wise Nyaga, for watching. Thank you, Hara, for watching. And everybody who may be watching and have not commented, we appreciate your presence here. Thank you very much. Please share this with your friends. And if you have a question regarding mental health, ask.
Mm-hmm.
Because here we have
Please.
someone who's, yeah, please ask. Because here we have someone who's an expert in that area, and he's dealt with thousands of cases. I know he may not tell us examples because he's a secret keeper.
Well, the thing is, I can tell examples generally. So
Yeah.
I will give everybody a very quick thing that they can do in 5 minutes a day
Mm-hmm.
to change their perception very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
This is what, and I will also send you I'll send you this as a poster that people can have. And I'll also send you my ebook on burnout too, so
Mm-hmm.
everybody can get a copy of that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So what it is the first thing I'm going to teach you is I'm going to teach you guys about emotional management planning. This is what we can do whenever we're feeling, and this is not for when you're feeling, this is for when you're feeling stressed out, when you're feeling anxious, when you're feeling sad, when you're feeling depressed, when you're all these different feelings, because it's about figuring out what that means. Because when what the way the body works is feelings all start with the biological fear response, because that is also known as the survival response.
Mm-hmm.
The biological fear response has one goal: to keep you alive. So
Yeah.
even when you're happy, your brain goes into the thing of, will I ever be this happy again? Will I ever be with these people again? Will I ever do this stuff again? So even when you're happy, there's just that little thread of fear that goes through, because what if this doesn't happen again? So the way that you start that, when you start to feel that way, is the first thing you do is you do a very specific technique called box breathing. And
Mm-hmm.
box breathing is scientifically proven to change the way your parasympathetic nervous system handles the fear story that is happening in your body at that moment. So
Mm-hmm.
what box breathing is you breathe in for 4 seconds and hold for 4 seconds. Then you breathe out for 4 seconds and hold empty for 4 seconds. And then you do that 4 times. So you breathe in, hold, breathe out, hold, and do that 4 times. And what that does is it tells your body there is nothing that is physically trying to hurt me,
Mm-hmm.
because our body, which is 80% of where all of our sensations come from, is wired that everything in the world wants to hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
Even though in the modern world, not so much. No, but the body story goes like this: my boss sent me an email. They want to talk. My brain immediately goes, "Oh no, I screwed up." And then my brain goes, I'm going to lose my job. And then my brain says, that means I'm going to lose everything else. And then my brain goes, and that means I'm going to die. Wow, that escalated quick, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what your body tells you, because that is the survival mechanism. It goes straight to survival. So by box breathing, we're telling our body, no, you don't need to worry about that. No, that's not happening. Then the next thing we do is we focus on the psychological. So you then take the story that your brain is telling you and you write it down. People are like, I don't want to write it down, because if people see it, they're going to think that there's something wrong with me. But
Mm-hmm.
the thing is, you can write it down and you can shred it, burn it, do whatever you want with it, rip it up, flush it down the toilet, whatever. But by you writing it down, you're now taking it out of the feeling part of the brain, forcing it through the logic part of the brain, and putting it on the page, which
Mm-hmm.
now lets you look at it with logic instead of just emotion,
Mm-hmm.
because emotion is where the fear story lives, and emotions are not logical.
Mm.
With me so far?
Yeah.
Okay. Then the third thing you do is you do just a quick bit of exercise. You get up, you do some quick power walking until you get your breath going a bit faster. You do
Mm-hmm.
some push-ups, some sit-ups. You do just 2 to 3 minutes of quick exercise to change the way that the adrenaline, the cortisol, the neuroepinephrine, all these things that the fear story make your brain spit into your body, go to the proper places. It goes to your arms and to your legs like it's supposed to. Because when you're sitting at a desk and you're feeling anxious, it goes to 4 places: your
Mm.
gut, where you get rolly gut feeling, where it feels like you're going to be sick; your heart and your lungs, where it feels like your heart's going to jump out of your chest; and your lungs, where you're breathing really shallow. But the most important thing it does is in your brain, adrenaline speeds up your brain to make time seem slower by about a factor of 10.
Mm.
And what is that designed for? Well, if a tiger is jumping at you and you feel like time is slower, do you have a greater chance of dodging so you don't die?
Mm.
Yes. But when you're sitting at your desk and 1 second becomes 10 seconds, how long are you trapped in anxiety and fear? It now feels like 10 times longer than reality.
Mm.
Have you ever experienced that?
Mm-hmm.
So you go through that. So then you go back and you read what you wrote after you've done the exercise. Because
Mm.
then when you see it, it has to go through logic first so you can make sense of it. And you
Mm.
recognize that, oh, that story makes no sense. The story that I'm going to lose my job and end up under a bridge dead because my boss wants to talk to me is ridiculous. But in that moment, it seems 100% plausible. And that's how you begin to shift and change your perception with regards to what's going on with you in that moment, so that you can then continue on with your day and not feel that fear is stalking you all day long.
Hmm. Wow. Thank you for all that. We really appreciate. You told of a story losing your job and ending up dead, and it reminded me of a story of someone who was saying, "I'm going to." I mean, someone is speaking to to students, some
Yep.
primary school students, and he's telling them, "Hey, you, please take care, great care of your pen. Your
Mm-hmm.
pen is the most important thing in this life.
Yeah.
Why? You don't if you don't have a pen, you don't write your notes. You don't write your
Mm-hmm.
notes, you don't write your exam because you don't have a pen. If you
Yeah.
don't write your notes and you don't do your exam, then you're going to fail your exam. If you fail your exam,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to go to college. If you don't go to
Mm-hmm.
college, you don't get a good job, and therefore you don't get money. If you don't have
Yeah.
money, you don't have anything to buy food with.
Yeah.
And when you don't eat,
You
you die.
die. Yeah. Amazing how that works, right? How fast we go from, well, we don't have this one thing, now I'm dead. It's like, whoa, there's a lot of other things in between there. So you're telling me there's no family, there's no friends, you can't borrow a pen, all these different things, right? It's that
Mhm.
kind of process where the story this tells us is designed to keep us alive.
Mm,
But the story it tells us is also one that is completely saturated with fear. And that's why it goes fear, your main feeling, which is, so it goes like, let's say I feel fear.
mm,
That makes me angry. So now I'm angry that I'm feeling fearful. But
mhm,
what is that anger really? So this is where you can do some emotional math, because there's 87 different feeling states. There's 7 core ones and there's 80 other ones that are around it. So you take that anger and you say, well, actually, I'm feeling fearful, I'm feeling distrustful, and I'm feeling like I'm in danger, right? So
mm,
that's what my anger is. I don't like that I'm feeling those three things. But anger as an emotion often feels larger than us, that we can't control it, right? We're
mhm,
going to turn green and become the Hulk and start smashing things. But
mm,
that is not the case. So by us being able to recognize the core feeling and breaking it down into those smaller feelings, we're now able to change our perception of what's happening in that moment. Because that's what it always comes back to when it comes to being a human being, is our perception is reality. And guess what our perception is? The story we are telling ourselves. So if
mm,
you can recognize that you are the author of your story, you can now change the outcome of what the story is telling you, because you're the one writing it. So at
mm,
any time you can say, I don't like that ending. I'm done. I'm not going to go that way anymore. But
mm,
guess what that takes? Practice. Because these stories have lived in us literally since the day we were born. Like,
mm,
this is my story, really quick. So when I was born, I weighed 1 pound 15 ounces. That was 47 years ago.
mhm,
Back then I would have been I was considered a micro preemie, and I should not be alive
mm,
because of all the medical stuff that went on. But for some reason, my body didn't like the things that they were trying to do to save me. So I didn't I didn't like the medication. I didn't like the stuff they were trying to do, and I somehow happened to survive. I don't know why, just luck, right? But
mhm,
that story then was, my parents told me, well, you're lucky to be alive. You don't understand. You're literally a billion plus billion chance of you being able to walk, talk, see, hear, and be normal. So you have to do something with your life that
mm,
is important, because if you don't, then all those other babies around you that died, well, then you're not living, you're not honoring them. So that was my initial story that was told to me, not in those words, but in all the actions and the ways that my parents taught me. They never said that to me specifically, but that's how I internalized the story. So I'd
mm,
better do something amazing to change the world because I'm a miracle. And
mm,
that can really mess you up a little bit if that's what you think, right?
mhm.
So in
Yeah.
going through that, That
Mm,
led me to elementary school, high school, middle school, all these things where I experienced a lot of bullying, which then that created a whole bunch of confusion. But because of that, it made me angry enough that my parents decided you have to go to therapy. So I went to therapy. And in that 2 years of therapy, of learning how to manage my own anger, I now understood what feelings were, that there are more than three feelings. I'm not just happy, sad, and angry. There's multiple different states of feeling, and they all blend together and create multiple things. But
mm,
from that, I fell in love with psychology. And because of that, here I am today, right? It's that kind of story. So, am I doing that story of I'm out to change the world and make everything better because I was a premature baby? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, it's in there, it's part of it. Part of it's my driving factor. But really, what it comes back to is I've been through suffering, I've been through pain. I've been through burnout. I've been through people pleasing. I've been through anxiety. I've been through depression. I've been through all these things. And what I really want to tell people is you can get through it. It will be, you can't, things will be better. That most of the time you have to remember this thing that you're feeling is being stretched out by adrenaline.
mm,
So, this thing that you are feeling for 10 seconds, but feels like 10 minutes,
mm,
is just the biological fear response. So, if you can figure out how to take that back and dial that back, you will find that in your brain, when your brain tells you this feeling you're having right now is your new forever, do the emotional management plan and tell me how you feel at the end of 5 minutes. Because it's amazing how 5 minutes is forever to your
mm,
brain.
mm-hmm. Yeah, it's amazing. And thank you for sharing your story and the things that you've been through. And we all go through challenges and problems, and
Yes, we
we,
do.
over- we overcome them. And I'm curious to know, among the many things that you mentioned, and I know there are also
Mm-hmm.
others that you haven't mentioned, which
Yep.
might have been your toughest one? How did you go over it, and how would you have done it differently, knowing what you know
Yeah.
today?
The toughest thing for me was the suicide of my mother when I was 29.
Mm,
Because because I was with her 2 weeks before she committed suicide at a hospital. And Uh, she told me what she was going to do. I told the hospital exactly what she told me, and they told me that no, she'll be fine as long as she completes our program. And I told them, no, you're wrong. That's not going to happen. I've been working in a locked psychiatric hospital for the last 2 years as a therapist dealing with people that are acutely suicidal, and this is not going to go away in 2 weeks. And they basically told me, no, you're wrong. She just has to complete the program. And she did what she did. And so the hard thing is, even though I would do anything to have my mom back, I would only have her back if she was healthy, because the reason why she became suicidal was because she had an autoimmune disorder that basically turned her from a healthy 47-year-old woman into the body of a 90-year-old woman in the space of a year. So
mm,
I don't think I would change is I would change the way that I interacted with her before she passed,
mm,
because it was one of those things that I regret. But it took me, and that led me to burnout. That led me to exhaustion. That led me to depression. It led me to a massive grief spiral. But also, it led me to creating this program. It led me to understanding these steps and these ways to help more people. Because above all, the thing I remember about my mom is that's who she was. She was an unlicensed social worker who helped hundreds and hundreds of people in my hometown, who started an Emotions Anonymous chapter to help people with emotional problems, who let people live in our basement, and who invited random people to our holidays, who tried to provide hope and joy and peace wherever she could to people that were struggling. And that's what I had to take away from that. And that's what helped me ultimately get through it. But what got me through it was learning and recognizing that I needed to use that 15 minutes a day program to pull myself out, to decide, to make that choice that I am worth moving forward, that I have something to give to the world, that I can make a difference, even if it's just one person, 100 people, 1,000 people at a time. Whatever it is, it's As long as you can get one person to begin to change, that's all that matters. And so that was, I would say, the hardest thing that I went through is that.
Hmm. Sorry for the loss of your mother.
Thank you.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing the lesson that we can always pick from what's left and make a difference in the world,
Yes, we can.
just like you're doing. And there's a lot of lessons that we could pick from that. Unfortunately, our time is over. Yeah, our time is over. It's been quite an interesting episode with you. Thank you very much for coming, Clint.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if someone who's been listening to you would want to follow up with you,
Mhm.
and who should follow up with you, and how should they follow up with
Sure. I mean, if anybody is feeling like, you're burned out or like you're failing or you're depressed or you're anxious in the different areas of your life, I know that you can make a change in 100 days. And I know this because you can do this by learning to take accountability, learning proper psychological tools in order to make those small changes that you need in those different areas of your life, your time, your connections, your emotions, and your purpose. Because those are the areas that we get burned out and disconnected in the most. And you can do this in just 15 minutes a day, and your life will become unrecognizable. And that's why I created the Small Changes, Big Impact transformational system. So if you want to find me and you're tired of, you just want to have a conversation, I'm offering a free 30-minute coaching call. He also will have my other information, but you can find me at calendly.com/Clint underscore SCBI /free free dash coaching, and I'll send you the link so you can do that. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram at Small Changes Big Impact dot the number 4 and the letter U, and I post 2 to 3 minute videos just discussing all the stuff kind of like this and offering tips and tricks on how to make it through this life that we have that we're all trying to do, because we're all, in the end, we're all just making it up as we go along and doing our best.
Thank you for that. I also, during my search, found that Small Changes, Big Impact has a website of its own.
Yes.
Which is it?
It is small changes big impact .net /info, and that's where you can also set up a call with me, and you can also find the ebook that I mentioned, and you can also find the another training on burnout, and just the different podcasts that I've been on if you just want to get more information.
Thank you very much, Clint. That's wonderful. So everyone who's listening, please, you can follow up with Clint, and yeah, don't stay silent. Reach out,
Yeah,
say what you're going through, and you never know who's out there and waiting to give you a hand to walk along with you. Before we go, please leave us with a few words that we should always remember. Which are they, Clint?
that if you want to make a change, the time to start is now. Because the thing is that life may feel long, but it's actually short. So all that you can do is take now and decide, what do you want to be in your life, and then work on becoming that. It's as simple and as difficult as that.
It's simple and difficult at the same time. Yeah, but you can make it because you're able. Just
Yes,
go
you
for
can.
it. Yes, you can. That's what I love.
Yes, you can.
Go for it. And remember, Clint is clapping for you, whatever it is that you're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's about it for today. It's been a wonderful time having you here, Clint. We appreciate. This has been Now Tell Us. I have been your host, Anthony Moirore. And together with our guest today, Clint Callahan, we are saying thank you for listening. And yeah, don't stay silent. Speak out if you're going through any mental challenge, and let's make tomorrow a better place for the things, a better time for the things that we do today. Bye for now. Bye.